Hey everyone, I'm Allison.
I'm Bryce.
And we're Better Half Reviews. And today we're talking about Guildmaster. It's a game designed by Chris Anthony and it's published by Good Games Publishing.
In Guildmaster, you're building up a guild, fighting against rival guilds to gaining the most fame, and become the best guild in the land.
Alright, so let's talk about how we feel about this game. Pros and cons.
Let's start with the pros.
Okay. So, pros. This game looks great on the table. I love all the different components. And this is I feel like this is one of our first games to actually have a player shield, a proper one. And I like how they all look, different sceneries for each of the different players, and very helpful info on the back of the player aid rather than just having a blank. It's useful.
I will say, the table presence is impressive, but it is a table hog.
Oh my goodness, yes it is. We've only played 2-player with this game, and it was okay, let's make some space hanging off the table.
Yeah.
But it does look really cool, and I liked having the little round marker where it'd be the full moon, half moon, blood moon. I thought that was kind of a cool thing, a way to keep track of the rounds.
Yes, I like how much is going on with the round marker flipping, meaning different things. You have a whole bunch of adventures to choose from, contracts to complete, builders to upgrade your own player board. There's just a lot to do and consider.
Yes. This game is highly strategic, and I feel like that's a very good pro for it. So this is more of a gamer's game, I would say, not a gateway game. There's a lot of information in here. When you break it down, you can kind of get it, but there's still a lot to take in and plan for in time. So I do appreciate this game. It feels very tight in your resources, money and everything else. You're just okay, I have to do this at the right time. And then the secret, what would you call it? When you're putting down all your different cards and you're secret bidding, that's why you have the player shield. You put your cute little ribbon up, and then that says everybody's ready. You reveal where you put your cards, so you can say, I'm going to have 2 of my people come here, and we're going to go try to recruit someone else, and these 2 people are going to go try and build. But if Bryce goes for the same thing I do at the same round, because you have 1, 2, 3, and 4 that you can use different spots, then we have to duke it out and either say let's go on with this together.
Well, it depends on what you're doing.
That's true. Well, yeah, if there's a contract, you can be okay, let's go on this together.
But then, not. Once you talk it out and kind of agree to something, you can still vote and say okay, yeah, I agree to that.
He lied to me.
Or say, no, I don't agree to that.
He lied to me. We were agreed and everything, and then he's red fist. And I'm green hand. Oh, crap. But then he gets to go first.
Putting out the red fist, that means I get to try the contract first, which I knew I was going to win. So.
Yeah, and then there's recruiting people, so if we both want to recruit the same person and we both put A down for round 1, then it's okay, who put down the most money, right?
Who put down the most money. Then, for builders, if you try to build at the same time, you do a roll, a skill check.
Oh, yes.
To see who's the highest.
But yeah, so there's those instances like that where you can have player against player, or even multiple players against each other.
Multiple players.
I feel we didn't have that happen too often.
Well, we've only played it 2 players.
Yes, I know, and that's what I was going to say. It hasn't happened too often, but I didn't mind when it happened, even when you lied to me.
I actually liked the conflict.
Yeah, it was fun and interesting. Now moving into the cons.
So, for me, while it feels highly strategic, I personally feel there's certain things you should go for first because it'll give you an advantage throughout the game.
Yes, and I feel that means everybody's going to be doing the same thing towards the beginning of the game. And speaking of what you said, Bryce, when he plays, he is really good at maxing out the money first or getting the money improved. On one game, I didn't do that, and I felt behind the entire time.
And I was drowning in money.
Yeah, and because resources are so limited, that's why I was just I am so stuck. I can't buy anything. I could barely buy anything. And that first half of the game, you're really focused on builders because you want to improve things so you can have more options for the next round. And I was just stuck because I'm I can't. And by the time I get around to it, the price is going to be too high, or I could only like buy one instead of 2 or 3 builders. So you gotta play really smart. But yeah, I think a lot of people, I feel like this game just starts the same way every time. Because if you don't do that, you're gonna be kind of stuck with in everything else for the rest of the game.
I agree.
He should have just donated some of that money to me, I'm just saying. But and then I didn't mention this, so the rule book, it is well done, and I do like that they have this quick start guide and a rule book.
And a rule book. And all this information on the inside of the player.
There
Hidey hole
is
thing.
information everywhere, which is good, but then there's also just too much information everywhere. So I feel like some things are just so wordy. A lot of words. Where, I mean, I'm glad that they take the time to explain everything, but sometimes it's like they have some like super like 4-word long thing for a name of something, and then it's saying that every single time. I'm like, reading this out loud, I'm like, can we use abbreviations?
Well, and not just that, I think it kind of like muddies the water a little bit. It's like, oh, did I read that here or did I read that there? Or is this back of the player board thing just good enough, or am I missing information on this that I actually really need to go check the board?
Yeah. I feel like once you get the hang of the game, this should be good for like most cases, except for like those few instances.
Well,
I feel like
even like after getting the game and understanding it, I was always referring to this for like the rounds,
Well,
and
yeah.
like to make sure we're doing the rounds properly and like the end around resolutions and everything.
But I like that it's like right in front of me. I don't have to flip through a book.
Well, true, but I'm just saying like it's so complicated that I have to refer to this every time.
There is a lot. But again, if you get the game played a couple times within a short amount of time, I feel like overall you won't have to check too many things. Maybe except for like when you have some certain conflicts for different things. I didn't talk about this either. I guess there's a few things I didn't mention for the pros. I like that the game is able to scale up and scale down for the player count. So when you're playing with 2 players, there's certain spots on the board that you're not going to be using, or you're going to fill in with some just extra different cards. So I do like that they do that. I feel like this game is more interesting with more players, because when just us two, I feel like it's just kind of limited. It's either he's going to do it or he's not going to do it. And he has a ton of money, so he's just going to go after that stuff. So I'm going to try to do something different.
Well, and then like on a 2-player game, some of the contracts are like...
Some?
Okay, a lot of the contracts are like, if you're behind, you get this extra bonus. And so, you know, when I'm normally in first, I can't do any of that stuff, or I have no incentive to do any of that stuff.
Not just that, there was a lot of them where it's like the number of people that you are behind from, or like you can increase from, I can't remember, but it just, most of them seemed like it was geared more for 3 and 4 player games. And so there were a lot of contracts that I was focusing on trying to do that because I didn't have a ton of money. So I was trying to go for that to get me some points. It's like I'm not getting that much of a reward from it because it seems more towards 3 and 4 players where there's more people to kind of like, I don't know, buffer off of.
Yeah.
So I felt kind of stuck that way. So I feel like the contracts are not really geared towards 2-player games. Something that I do appreciate that I've seen from Good Games Publishing is it seems like they go out of their way to kind of do some nice little things that most people don't. So on Funfair, they did something really cool with the board that I appreciated, and I'll talk about that in our Funfair review. But then they took the time, because you have dice rolling and probability and everything, they put down a dice probability breakdown, because you can roll up to 10 dice typically to try to go for different things like the contracts, and you have the different, what do you call them? Icons? Like there's the sun and
like
other
abilities,
things. Yeah. And so you can roll like 8 blue dice or whatever, and it's like, okay, well here's your chances for what you're going for. And then they have those different builders that can improve your chances or let you re-roll some things. So I really like that they like added this. Totally don't need it. Some people will just be like, okay, whatever, but like mathy people will be like, sweet, look at this dice probability breakdown. I totally nerded out when I saw it.
Well, and I honestly, I used this during the game. I would kind of look at it going, okay, I need to do a thing for, like, I need to get a 30-point target or whatever. So it's like,
What are my chances?
what are my chances if I bring 7 dice? Oh, it's very low. It's less than 20%.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, maybe I need 9 or 10 dice to
Yeah.
get that up there a little bit more. And so I started thinking about how I could use my adventures in a way that would help me get to that better probability.
Yeah. And so another thing with this game is there are different aspects of leveling up because the different adventures you can take start with adept to heroes to legends, and so they get stronger and stronger and harder to get, like steeper in price. And then same with the contracts where it goes all the way up to, is it like legendary?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I liked that there were different levels because as you're going through the game, you're like, oh, I can totally like move up from novice to the next thing. And, you know, it's a little bit harder, but you can just go all in because there's, with different abilities, different people, you can end up having a good amount of dice or a lot of like plus extra to your rolls. So I liked that. Different combos. But I feel like it's hard to get your head wrapped around the strategy, like the timing of things. Because there's different people you can have as in your guild, the adventurers, but they may only have abilities at certain times.
Mm. And that goes back to the rounds. So some rounds they'll be like full moons or a quarter moon or whatever. Half moon.
Blood moon, and then the sun that works with all the rounds.
So yeah, some people only have an ability that triggers on a full moon or whatever.
Yes. And it's like, I feel like I had a harder time like getting the timing down and having what I needed to like utilize their abilities. So I feel like that just takes time to get used to what the abilities are and when you can time them with the right rounds. So overall, what are your thoughts about this game?
I really like it. We've only played it at 2 players, and I feel at 2 player, it can be a little samey.
Mm-hmm.
Just with strategy, it's like, I know how, at least for me, I know how to best optimize my game, and so I pretty much do the same thing every time. But with 3 or 4 players, I could see how that would be different, and strategy can be a little more diverse. Mm-hmm. We just haven't been able to try it at 3 or 4 players, so I really want to. I really like the game. I think it has a lot of depth to it, a lot of skill and strategy that you can use.
Yeah, and I feel like this is definitely more of a Bryce game because of like the higher strategic depth. There is luck in it with the dice roll, but there's still strategy around that, which I appreciate. So I like that there's a little bit of luck, but you can still kind of like mitigate it or plan for it. Overall, I think this game is all right. It's not my favorite, but I think I would probably like it better at the 3 or 4 player count because I feel like the things on the board will change up a lot more when you have more people because more stuff's getting bought or moved around or changed. So yeah, I'm going to hold out my full judgment till I can do the 3 or 4 player. But I think it's good. It looks great. It just, you need to take the time to get the hang of it and to get your head around the strategy. And I'm just not as good at this game as Bryce is because it's highly strategic. I mean, I can think and do stuff, but he's just so much better at getting it quicker. But I think it's fun, but probably not my favorite. But I do like the look of it.
My biggest concern now that I think about it at 3 or 4 players is once someone does something, say they take the adventure in slot A, it doesn't refill until the next round.
Correct. But it doesn't leave you totally hanging because it gives you alternate options that you can go for if you have enough stuff to do it. Like the contracts. You can do your personal contracts.
You can do some personal contracts, or you could build.
Or the luck.
Or you can, get coins and a little bit of fame.
Yeah.
So my concern is, at a higher player count, someone's going to do an early action, whereas, like, you might do that, like, choose to do that in a later one, so you're going to have a lot more kind of wasted turns, maybe.
I see that.
I don't know.
Well, that's why it's really strategic. You have to be thinking about what are the other players going to be doing? What are they looking for? When should I go for spot A or spot E? Should I put that first or second? And then something else that I had a hard time with is you have 4 spots to put down your things, but you only can utilize 2 of them at the beginning of the game. And then if you get the builders, you can use 3 spots. and only one person can
Yep.
get the 4 spots.
Upgrade it to the 4 spot. Yep.
And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that, but it's a very competitive game. Very competitive. And I feel like the more people you have, the more like head on you're going to have. But yeah.
I agree.
So it's good. There's a lot there. I feel like at 2-player, you're just not getting everything that's possible with this game. So that's Guildmaster. Thanks for watching our review, and give it a like and subscribe to our channel if you will. And we're also on Instagram.
So be sure to go follow us over there. This has been another Better Half Review.
I'm Allison.
I'm Bryce, and we're Better Half Reviews.
Happy gaming.
Have fun.
Go get that guild. Wait. Okay. It's like the only game I've had ribbons for. Would you like a ribbon?